Good morning, everybody. This is live. There is a tornado warning happening right now in eastern Tennessee. That includes Manchester, Tennessee, Tullahoma areas as well. This is a QLCS event, but it is a supercell that's embedded within the apex of this line. And right now, that strongest rotation just to the southwest of the Manchester area, moving into high resolution velocity. There is that circulation right down near the lake Tullahoma area, just to the north of Tullahoma, west of Rutledge Falls, heading right toward Rutledge Falls right now. Here is the I-24 corridor just off to the east of it, and that is that tornado that is happening right now. Let's take a look if we and see if we have a correlation coefficient drop on that thing. Not seeing much in the way of a confirmed tornado lofting debris, at least maybe down there. Looks like just north of Anderson. Let's see how that lines up well. Well, that's probably not it. I'm not seeing much in the way right now of a confirmed tornado. It's right near that Tullahoma airport. There's the circulation. A little bit behind that gust front, as is often the case with these QLCS tornadoes. Maybe another circulation trying to form up near Rutledge Falls. But this is that main circulation right here. And it's a little bit behind that gust front, almost like an occluding tornado. And then the new circulation would form very close to those converging gust fronts on the leading edge of that QLCS. But this is that main tornado circulation just to the north of Anderson right there. This is in Tennessee, eastern Tennessee. Looks like a little hook-like appendage down there on the backside of that Rutledge Falls area. An effective rear flank downdraft, kind of an elongated rear flank downdraft with little notches in there. Probably some damaging winds happening off to the south. But that's that main tornado closing in on Rutledge Falls right about there. We can even get right in on that street view, southwest side of Rutledge Falls there. Definitely a hook-like appendage behind that main gust front. This looks like a little bit of an old radar. There it is. Looks like it's a little bit more elongated on that latest scan. That's still the main circulation southwest of Rutledge Falls. Looks like a new circulation trying to form near the Rutledge Falls area, just to the west of Belmont as well. This is the only tornado warning right now. It is radar indicated. I'm not seeing a sign yet of debris getting lofted by that circulation. There was an earlier tornado warning closer to the Nashville area earlier this morning. Some reports of some lower end damage as well. Ginger is reporting that. She said she could hear that circulation move by her location closer to the Nashville area. We'll have to see just how substantial is that damage, though, as we're moving forward. Let's loop this thing, and look at that. Definitely a quasi-linear system, but you can also see some supercellular characteristics with this. Basically, in general, an elevated mesocyclone happening southwest of Manchester, likely getting some big windbag event into the Manchester area. A lot of stratiform rain out ahead of this tornado warning, too. So definitely a decoupled boundary layer, to say the least, to the east of this QLCS pattern. But there is that tornado warning just northeast of Tullahoma, Lake Tullahoma area, southwest of the Manchester, Tennessee area. This is that I-24 corridor that we're talking about. And there is a slight risk today back into further down the front, back into central Louisiana. This is that cold front, and you're just going to have a congealing of these storms along that cold front. Out along a prefrontal trough, there is a Renegade Supercell that is happening on the southwest side of Alexandria, out here near the National Forest, and does have some indication of a hook, some inflow coming in here, weak echo region, and then you have this outflow pattern, kind of an elongated RFD structure off to the southwest of it. But there is a chance that this could even wrap up into a circulation. Let's take a look at the rotation. And there is a bit of some rotation. Definitely some stronger outflow closer to that mesocyclone along the apex of that RFD. And a little bit of inflow coming in on the north side. Not enough to warrant a tornado warning just yet, but definitely something to watch long term as that storm attempts to stay ahead of that cold front. Got a severe thunderstorm warning for Columbus, Mississippi there. Great breakfast spot in Columbus that I went to during those high risks last year, just on the east side of town. Have to return back to that location again as well. But this is more of a linear convective system, some individual cells here trying to enhance the inflow. That severe thunderstorm warning does include Starkville to Columbus along Highway 82. there. But right now we've got this lone tornado warning northeast of Tullahoma, southwest of the Manchester area. That circulation is getting a little bit elongated, though. Not an incredibly tight circulation at all there. Kind of an elongated zone here of potential vorticity or actual vorticity. There's definitely some shear vorticity elongated within this zone. Likely northerlies transporting that potential vorticity into that mesocyclone located here near the Lake Hills area. But that's an old radar. That's about 47 after. So let's update this, and there it is. There's that circulation. Looks like we have a new tornado warning extended off to the east. That does include that circulation down near the Belmont area. And that's about 8 minutes ago when that was happening. So that circulation very close to Belmont, Rutledge Falls, Blackjack area, crossing Highway 55. There is that circulation right there, closing in on 55 south of Rutledge Falls. New tornado warning, radar indicated. We could head back on over to our dual pole products, high resolution. And we do have a little bit of a fart down there. Probably some old fall colors. Likely those red oak holdouts getting shredded out there by that windbag event. But you got to treat it as a tornadic circulation because that's what it is. A quasi-linear convective system out there. Closing in on this zone. There's that tornado warning. It looks like it's a severe warning back where that circulation is located. And we just slapped a tornado warning off to the east of it. Moving east at 55 miles an hour. Mainly rural areas of southeastern Coffee County. That does include Hillsborough, Arnold Air Force Base, Interstate 24 between mile markers 112 and 124. But just in that, basically a quasi-linear convective system, we'll call it, but it does have some supercellular characteristics in general. Certainly see embedded supercell shape within that, looking back at the rotation. The rotation isn't as strong in this latest scan. Very close to the Belmont area, though. Belmont, Blackjack, Royal Oaks, Rutledge Falls area. There's Arnold Air Force Base. Looks like it's going to be south of that circulation, but definitely a windbag event approaching from the west. Looking west from Arnold Air Force Base, you could probably see a shelf cloud coming with a little bit of a notch in that shelf cloud right about in this zone near Rutledge Falls, Manchester area, White Oaks. And here is Interstate 24 right here, I-24. That includes that tornado warning. That includes from Manchester all the way down through Prairie Plains on I-24 as well as Highway 41. But there is that tornado warning. It's in progress right now. And we do have that slight risk, as I mentioned. Let's take a look at the environment and see what is going on here. We'll use the trusty RAP analysis. Take a look at the environment that these storms are moving into. Let me get that region dialed in. Good morning, everybody. By the way, we kind of had to start fast here this morning with this severe weather event. Not a lot of instability, just incredible. This is... Look at that little nose of instability there. This is the RAP analysis, and this shows you that, wow, could these tornado setups be obscure sometimes? Don't want precip. Oh, just look at this. Hardly even any storm relative helicity as of this morning. So these QLCS supercells, they're a little bit elevated. They're tapping into those lapse rates aloft, those mid-level lapse rates. But the overall convective system can force those storm motions a little bit further right and squeeze out a lot more helicity than might appear initially to be available to that storm. Looking at the mixed layer cape. See if we can pull out some of that elevated instability. A little bit out in front of it, some elevated instability, but you can see in general these steeper lapse rates here right along that convective line. Those are mid-level lapse rates. Cape that's not necessarily surface-based. There is definitely a lot of convective inhibition for these storms, a lot of sin. So I think that this tornadic circulation is likely going to run into stable air that's going to prevent a tornado from happening downstream. But right now, that QLCS circulation is getting it done, forcing a further right storm motion. Happens a lot with these QLCS circulations. Let's also take a look now at the Louisiana setup. See what kind of surface-based instability we have down there for that Renegade. Looks like it's right along that prefrontal trough. Just below my head. And you can see how those winds are more westerly within that narrow slot between that prefrontal trough and the actual cold front. The actual cold front is even northwest of that. So we have a couple prefrontal confluence bands here. One out ahead of the front, and then you have those westerly winds, and then you have the main front prefrontal confluence line, and then another prefrontal confluence line with due southerly winds off to the south of that. That's where that favorable wind shear is located, with those southerly surface winds underneath a decent low-level jet, creating about 200 0 to 1 kilometer shear for that storm. And there is a slight risk down there, central southern Louisiana into central and southern Mississippi with time. Forecasting, look at that line, look at that front just settle down into central southern Louisiana. But you have westerly surface winds being indicated by the RAP there into southern Mississippi. So it looks like this is more of just a windbag event with that squall line sagging down on the tail end of that squall line. But at least there's surface-based instability down there. Maybe a couple tornado warnings. There is a 2% risk for tornadoes, but it is further back on the tail end of that front. Important to note, though, that that front is just going to stall out in the northern Gulf of Mexico, and it's not going to carve out that moisture that's available to those to future systems later on this week. Saturday's mid-latitude cyclone that is also forecast to eject from the southern plains as possibly a more substantial storm system. And it looks like that tornado warning has been allowed to expire in eastern Tennessee now, which is very good news. Just that severe thunderstorm warning here. Now that it has crossed Interstate 24, that rotation has weakened, thankfully. Looks like we've got some old velocity data here. Let's see if we can... And look at that circulation southeast of Belmont, weakening as it's moving in to this stratiform rain, precipitation, stable air located upstream. But there you can see that circulation north of Tullahoma there, headed off to the east, approaching Interstate 24, but thankfully... that tornado warning has been allowed to expire. Possible additional circulations could develop with that quasi-linear convective system as it moves off to the east toward the Altamont area, Beersheba Springs. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that perfectly. But it does look like there is a hint at a supercellular structure there near Interstate 24, south of White Oaks, west of Hillsboro, moving toward Asbury, Wintontown. And because that tornado warning has been allowed to expire, we're going to go back to green mode here. Or blue mode, excuse me. But we do have that severe thunderstorm warning right now in eastern Tennessee. There's been a couple of tornado warnings in the early morning hours. This one that we were just breaking down near the Manchester area. And another one back toward Nashville that was also happening. And now you've got a lot of stratiform rain out ahead of this line here. This linear convective system squall line sliding off to the southeast. Chattanooga's about to get some rainfall. A couple of severe thunderstorm warnings as well further to the northeast as this skinny squall line still advancing. Windbag here. North of Wartburg, Sunbright, Huntsville, starting to approach the I-75 corridor north of Knoxville. And this is just a skinny squall line, but could be associated with some damaging winds, 50 to 60 miles an hour. Looks like some of those stronger winds are ahead of that squall line. And then right along the immediate squall line, you get a surge of wind. And that is to the north of Knoxville. So if you're heading north of Knoxville, up on I-75, you certainly could run into this skinny squall line that's advancing eastward at about 50 miles an hour. Another severe thunderstorm warning up to the east of London, Kentucky, south of Manchester, Kentucky out here. South of Boonville. I was taking this road all the way up to my recent speaking event at Indiana ChaserCon, which was a very fun event. And this skinny squall line heading off to the southeast. Wartburg, you got a severe thunderstorm warning. Sunbright. southeast of Huntsville, headed up toward the La Follette area eventually, as that severe thunderstorm warning likely will be extended off to the east. And this is the storm that prompted this live briefing. It did have a tornado warning earlier. Now it has a severe thunderstorm warning heading off to the east. And it's running into a lot of stable air just to the east of that storm system. So that's going to be the story there. And in the long range, let me take a quick look on Saturday. I know that the models are trending a little bit down with that event in the long range. Ooh. Let me go back over so you can see what I'm looking at. That's Saturday morning right there. Looks like the surface though ejects way off to the northern Great Lakes and kind of a strung out, sheared out system. A bit of a squall line. Now all the Mets, all the TV meteorologists are going to be like, those rogue YouTube pages that called for an outbreak are wrong. I'm more important than you. That's what they'll say. I'm not saying I am. I'm saying that's what they'll say. This is Saturday evening. System ejects way up into eastern Canada. And looks like a front, some cold air surging down on the backside of this system. Let's see what the shape of the upper trough looks like on Saturday. Not bad. That could support severe weather. But that surface low ejects way to the north, and then you have this tailing area of vorticity that it drags. And that's Saturday evening. And as expected, you have a low-level jet that's a little bit displaced to the east of that front. But still, if you could get convection within that low-level jet, 50 to 60 knots, it's probably going to have severe weather and a tornado potential, but a lot of skinny Kate. And just kind of a weird trough ejection. That's the 6Z run. Wonder how the 0Z run looked last night. Not as good. So at least it is trending back toward a more favorable trough ejection. We can look now at the high-resolution European model. Wow, even more progressive. So it looks like that Saturday system might be trending more toward a nothing burger. Unless Friday evening can happen, maybe the end of the week. Looks like it could be timed just a little bit different. Still just a ton of discrepancy between the evolution in the European model and the GFS. But this is a much more progressive system. A couple days ago, it was showing a trough that was amplifying over the western U.S., bottoming out near the southern plains, and then ejecting over the mid-south. This is a lot more progressive of a system, and it's coming in from that northwest flow. Doesn't really amplify in time for the Four Corners region. And even though you have this reservoir of moisture just sitting over the Gulf of Mexico, it looks like the latest models from yesterday and today are trending a little bit less likely for big severe weather with this system. That's not the most favorable trough ejection shape. We'll have to see how the 12Z models will show earlier today. Does look like some decent snow, though, could happen in a stripe across central northern Iowa, Wisconsin, all the way back. Let's see what the European model at least shows in terms of precipitation. Looks like some decent snow in the mountains here of Colorado, the Mountain West, finally. I know there were wildfires that broke out yesterday in the Idaho Springs area out there, so any precipitation would be welcome. And it looks like some good powder out there in the Colorado Rockies with this system at the end of the week. And then a stripe of synoptic snow, stripe of deformation band snow across the Sandhills in Nebraska. Northern Nebraska could get up to a foot. Southeastern Wyoming, several inches. And then that stripe of snow ejects across northern Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, central Wisconsin, and then eventually off into the northern Great Lakes. But boy, every model run is shifting and definitely changing a lot. So I still think there's going to be some surprises as we go through this week. I know that today is Monday. Let's take a look at some of the earlier events. Boy, yeah, I don't think that the suits with the big media organizations like it that we could just sit here in our pajamas and sling weather briefings like this on our YouTube channel or our own platforms. They much prefer to have just a limited number of positions in there to keep control of that content. But boy, I think you could get the best weather information for people just sitting here in their sweatpants slinging live information. You got to be careful who your sources are, because sometimes, if they don't have the credentials or the experience in forecasting, they can more just be kind of copying other forecasts and redistributing that information with good communication. So you do have to be careful sometimes about the information you're seeking. But who am I to really say either? But yeah, there is that system. It doesn't really amplify over the Mountain West, at least through yesterday evening's model runs. The GFS and the European model showing less of an amplifying system. Maybe on Saturday we could get some severe weather down in the southeastern U.S. Maybe the eastern Carolinas. Saturday afternoon, it looks like that low-level jet is hugging against the Appalachians here. Looks like the Carolinas maybe on Saturday afternoon. Could be a squall line that advances into that low-level jet. Let's see how the dew points look. Pretty good dew points here through the Carolinas. So it's possible that we could be setting the stage on Saturday for a southeastern U.S. severe weather event. Pretty good moisture there over the southeast up into the Carolinas, so I'll have to keep an eye on that as well on Saturday. But even if that trough doesn't quite amplify over the Four Corners and amplifies over the central and eastern U.S., then that'll excite a low-level jet, pump that moisture northward, and we could be talking about a skinny squall line that advances through this area on Saturday. And there's that skinny squall line on the European model. Could be some tornadic activity on Saturday if the timing pans out, but I think that we're likely going to see a little bit of some flip-flopping in the models over the next couple of days, and we'll trend back toward probably an average solution between what you're seeing here and the less progressive, deeper, higher amplitude system over the Four Corners, which would be more favorable for severe weather over the Mid-South. So I think we'll probably see an average, a bit of a strung-out squall line with some tornado potential, likely over the Mid-South into the southeastern U.S. Friday into Saturday. So we'll still have to keep an eye on that. Still a long ways out. Let's go one more time back to the radar, see if we have any tornado warnings out there. We do. Oh, they ended up warning that one down into central Louisiana. We were watching that Renegade, and there it is, southwest of Woodworth. South of Alexandria. This hot spot always gets tornadoes. And look at that, just to the northwest of Bringhurst. There is that tightening circulation right there. Just west of Highway 165, but it's probably going to be very close to the road here shortly. That's just some lobing. Looks like a radar indicated circulation there. So those correlation drops are more of the inflow into that circulation. So this is that Renegade storm that we were talking about. You can see this bulging RFD structure. Inflow coming in. That's likely where that tornado is located. Maybe a little bit of debris getting lofted in there within that notch. In general, though, that wind is coming in here like this. Flows right around the apex of that RFD in there. And then it gets choked off and you get the occlusion process back behind the notch of these gust fronts. You have your forward flank gust front there. You have your bulging RFD. Your squeeze play, the inflow right in the middle of those two boundaries there. And that's how we have this tornado warning that is approaching Highway 165 south of Woodworth right now. We got to go back to code red mode, because we do have this tornado warning south of Woodworth, north of Forest Hill happening. This is in central Louisiana, about 200, 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative velocity. It's right along that leading prefrontal confluence band, where to the south of that band you have mainly southerly surface winds beneath a veered low-level jet, a lot of directional shear. And this is just your classic Renegade on the south side of Alexandria. LeCompte, you're in the path of this storm. Woodworth, you're in the core right now. Possibly getting some hail A lot of times these systems are kind of dominated by warm rain processes, and sometimes you won't get the really big hail where it should be up here near the Woodworth area. Let's loop this. It is moving off basically due east right now. Look at those little convective elements surging south to north within that little mesoscale low-level jet. That's why a lot of times when the mega wedges form, it'll be with a cell leading a supercell like this, and you get the little mesoscale acceleration of the inflow, almost enhancing the wind shear immediately ahead of that storm, and that's why that lead supercell will often end up producing a mega wedge type of a situation. And to make sure... Good, we are still live. Break it down. This rate-moving supercell in central Louisiana, just south of Woodworth, north of Bringhurst, about to cross Highway 165 right now. Here's Interstate 49 off to the east. Here's the Alexandria State Forest Wildlife Management Area as well, just south of town. Pretty dense forest out here, pine forest. I've chased this area a lot. And this is another tornado warning that has been issued just to the south of Alexandria, approaching Interstate 49 here. Pretty strong rotation. Waiting for that correlation drop. We kind of have a double-barreled tornado cyclone now. We've got this one just to the west of Highway 165. We have a new circulation trying to ramp up just to the east. Highway 165 right between that double-barreled circulation. Let's see if we've got any of that. Oh, there it is. We have a confirmed tornado about to cross 165 right now. Confirmed tornado debris signature there. Just about to cross Highway 165. Dangerous situation here. We have a confirmed tornado about to comment. Definitely tornadic circulation here approaching Highway 165. So if you're in the path of this circulation south of Alexandria, you need to be in your safe place. We've got a confirmed tornadic circulation approaching 165 right now. So definitely a tornadic circulation happening. Everybody, this is a tornado warning right now just south of Alexandria. There it is. You're looking at that debris signature getting lofted up, and it is now over 165. The next scan just came in. So we have got a bird fart. Oh, not a bird fart, but a strong tornado here. Possible lofting debris. Damaging tornado, at least. About to make a post. There's that debris signature just to the east of 165. Likely ramped up velocities. And not as much as you'd expect in terms of the velocity imagery there to the south of Alexandria. It's possible it produced that tornado, lofted the debris, and has just now lifted as it's crossing Highway 165. But there it is, that confirmed tornado. Sounds like there is some damage located near that Nashville area with that squall line that came through. And it now looks like that debris signature has just dissipated as it crossed Highway 165. But there's that supercell storm, bulging RFD on this, approaching Interstate 49 south of Alexandria. Renegade storm dominating. Stay tuned, everybody. I'm going to be back live here in a second.